the possibility to voice Ukrainian position and tell you what is happening in Ukraine.
So all of our followers watching, we're live streaming on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. We're going to frame the session as Ukraine is fighting. Maria is in Kharkiv right now, which, if you've been following the news, has been under shelling. Before she came on air, she was just mentioning an air siren. So if her internet is a bit unpredictable and shaky, so we're going to work through it. So if she disconnects everybody watching, she'll join back as quickly as possible. Ms. Avdeeva, before we get going, for all of our viewers out there, I think there are some very important news items to bring you. First and foremost, Russian disinformation efforts suggesting that the government has fled and that Ukraine is on the brink of being a failed state has completely backfired and has been an awful execution. Unbelievable videos of President Zelensky speaking that the president is here standing with his people have encouraged not just those in Ukraine, but those watching. Blood donations, participation on national defense is sky high, morale is high. Protests are growing across Russia with rumors of dissatisfaction at RT and potential mass resignations. Cracks are definitely starting to develop here. Day 3, as some President Putin's celebrity supporters like NHL hockey player Alexander Ovechkin has called for no more war. The hacker group Anonymous has taken down websites of the Russian Defense Ministry, RT, and the Kremlin. Kazakhstan has denied requests to send troops where the current government is not recognizing the independence of Donetsk or Luhansk. At the Security Council, China abstained and did not veto a vote condemning Russia's appalling behavior versus Ukraine. And breaking this morning, UK and the US are among 27 nations which have agreed to give more weapons and military aid to the country. So Maria, as we go to you right now from in Kharkiv, it's been an unbelievable day of news already. We're day 3 of the invasion. What's the perspective in Kharkiv and how are you doing?
Well, I would start from the beginning. So the shelling started yesterday, so the day before yesterday at 5 a.m. in the morning. I woke up because of the shellings, and it should have been the normal day of a disinformation expert. So I usually run through the Russian sources that spread disinformation, then make analysis and debunking of that. And that was the night when the shelling actually happened, and I started to look at what's going on and found out that Russia has started the war against Ukraine, and it is not only Kharkiv where I am now, but all other major cities of Ukraine. So Russia started attacking Ukraine from 3 sides simultaneously. It's from the territory of Belarus on Kyiv, from east on Kharkiv, which is a 1.5 million city, and to the south from Crimea. And so I think that initially Russia planned that they will be moving quickly into the Ukrainian territory, because as you would listen to what Putin is saying, he wanted to defend or to protect someone here, but now it looks like that the Ukrainian army is fighting fiercely back, and all Ukrainians are united in the efforts to fight back Putin's army, and they have losses, and the losses the Russian army has now is the biggest losses Russia had in its new history since the collapse of the USSR. So it's now bigger than the both Chechen war together. And we have Russian captives on camera who are mumbling about that they were not knowing where they are going, and they were told they are going on the trainings, and they were not planning to kill anyone here. And we see enormous civil society initiatives that are also helping the Ukrainian army to fight. Today, I've just watched the video from Sumy region, which is a region on the east near the Kharkiv. So the citizens, ordinary citizens that got weapons from the territorial defense units, they saw the Russian military car on the street, and they attacked it and took out the Russian saboteurs who were inside that. So they kept the captives before the military came and hold them. So that is the enormous fight Ukraine now has, and all of that are capable, all people capable of holding weapons are now combating the Russian troops.
Maria, thank you for breaking that huge news. I mean, for everybody, I mean, obviously going back in the past 2 devastating wars in Chechnya and Grozny, and to think that we're only on day 3 here and that Russian military personnel have sustained their greatest losses, due to these unbelievable heroic efforts of the Ukrainian army is just, nobody's looking for bloodshed, but it shows the dedication, the training, and the professionalism of the people and the people in charge of this chaos right now. Maria, I want to go back to you on something. I think you pointed on it briefly. Things are not going to plan for Russia and for the Russian military. I think the generals pitched this to President Putin that this was going to be a cakewalk. They were going to walk in, that there might not be so much defense. As you said, you have Russian units who are actually defecting to Ukraine or are surrendering, saying that, we're here, we don't want to kill our brothers and we weren't told about it. We're going all over the place a little bit, but from Kharkiv now to Moscow, do you think the pressures at all are starting to set in on President Putin, both with the protests swelling across Russia and then the absolute condemnation that's going across worldwide?
Absolutely. Russia is losing in this information war it waged. So I was researching Russian disinformation and actually how they were planning this campaign to be, how they were planning this war. So their disinformation efforts were aimed at creating a pretext to invade Ukraine. So what they were aimed to show with the fake videos and fake news, disinformation pieces, that Ukraine was allegedly attacking Donbass, which never was the case because Ukraine never had that plans, and we have the line of control within Donbass. But in the recent 2 weeks before the attack, Russia was putting enormous efforts into spreading that kind of disinformation. And it was the major disinformation wave I have seen ever since 2000, and also even bigger than in 2014. So we knew that something is happening and they are preparing for invasion and they are preparing pretext for that invasion. But eventually they didn't succeed with creating that pretext because Ukrainian expert community and also the international researchers very quickly debunked those fake videos and put everything online. And it was very clear that Russia is preparing an offensive, and it needs to use disinformation to give some ground for that. So when Putin understood that plan failed and they cannot give any reasonable forms and any reasonable ground for invasion, he started to say that he now needs to defend Ukraine from Nazis and demilitarize Ukraine. And again, Russia is using mass disinformation efforts to somehow to legitimize their presence and their attacks on Ukrainian cities and on Ukrainian civilians. If you would watch what Russian officials now claim and what is all over Russian state network of media, is that they are claiming that they actually do not hit civilians and that are only military objects, and they want Putin said the Ukrainian army should surrender, and that the Zelensky government who are Nazis. And so that's completely ridiculous to anyone who has any knowledge of Ukrainian situation. That everyone will understand that these claims, they do not have any ground at all for this. So now when Putin understands that he is losing in this war, because now this disinformation doesn't work as well, and Ukraine fiercely resists, and Russian soldiers see that they are not welcomed here, and no one here wants to be rescued, because we are a united nation who is now fighting against the aggressor and against occupants, and there are major losses among the Russian soldiers, and we have reports that they are lying just on the streets because Ukrainian army doesn't have capacities to hide, to bury them or to do something with the body. So, and the Russians just dropped them there because they were they were not expecting that such kind of things would happen with Russian soldiers initially. And having all that, well, I have the hope that probably it will lead together with the international support and together with the pressure now on Russia and the voices inside Russia against this war. So to all combined, probably I have a hope that it will lead Putin to the idea that he needs to withdraw troops. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, Maria, just for everybody watching out there, I want to stay on the information narrative. And again, Ukraine is fighting and that it's going well. So I think as we sum up very quickly, I think in addition to sort of the very slow success that the Russian military is having, it's been equally as negative in the information campaign. Maria outlined exactly what the issues are. For everybody watching, I mean, just a farcical and laughable performance by the foreign ministry to get up saying that they're not attacking civilian infrastructures when this morning there was a massive apartment complex that was struck. Ukrainian foreign minister tweeted it out. And the other thing is just for sure, in Russia, everybody watching right now, it is a crime to report on military casualties with the Memorial Foundation, which was set up, which was shut down as well. So the one thing that President Putin is more afraid of than anything, Maria, as you know, is protests swelling against, you've seen them in St. Petersburg, in Moscow, and other cities. And all of those people who show up are 100% now in jail or under attack. Maria, we, in the West, we're not doing enough to support Ukraine, but how can we get more information, the right type of information to the Russian people? Because if you watch the state news or the state newspapers, or read the state newspapers, they're just saying that the special military operations are focused only in Donetsk and Luhansk when, you even have air sirens going off in Lviv.
Exactly. Yes, that's what they try to push to their audience and also internationally, because Russia has created and finances, so gives a lot of money actually to the network of state media in European countries. And what I see has begun, and I fully support, and our expert community does as much as possible in this direction. So to block the possibility for Russian state media to broadcast on the platforms that are controlled by the Western countries. So do not give the place on media platforms, on the networks for Russia disinformation to be spread. I already know that Facebook is launching some of such efforts. We need that as much as possible, because not Russia is using disinformation as a warfare here. So it's not about saying or listening to some other position. It's about that Russia will try to manipulate and use this information as a weapon, not only against Ukraine, but also against all the free world. So that is very important. Also, I thank you for the possibility again to speak to you, because we try as much as possible to give the Ukrainian voice to be heard, so these people will really see and listen to what is really happening. Also, I'm in the group of experts on disinformation and information security here in Ukraine, and we are constantly working all the time. I mean, everyone now sleeps very little, and we are just 24/7 working on delivering Ukrainian position. So what we are also focusing at is we make information in Russian and spread that in Russian publics, so that the Russians will see what actually is happening in Ukraine. They will see what happens to the soldiers that are being left here by the Russian army, how Ukrainian shuts back the Russian aircrafts, how the people who got kept by the Ukrainian army, and they start saying that they didn't want any harm to the Ukrainians and they want to go back, how they call their parents. And here I should stress that Ukrainian military, when they have captives, they always behave in a
everybody, we're just going through a little bit. Oh, sorry, we're just having a bit of a technical connection. Yeah. So, sorry, Maria, we lost you for a little bit. Maybe just start from the start of the sentence.
Yeah. So, where did I stop? So, what was the last you have heard?
Just restart from the beginning about sort of the not giving back on the sort of the behavior of the Russian military and just dropping the bodies off.
Yeah, so what our expert community is focusing at, as we have these videos that are made by Ukrainian military when the captives on the camera start saying that they didn't want to come here. They were not aware that they're actually coming into Ukraine. They were told by their commander that that's some kind of trainings, and they call their parents and ask them to take them back from Ukraine. And also this is necessary to stress that Ukrainian military always behaves in a human manner with these captives. They're never beaten. They got medical care if it is needed. There is a very striking video when actually Ukrainian soldier gives first medical aid to the Russian soldier who came here with the weapons to kill Ukrainians. So that kind of videos we start spreading in Russian communities, in Russian networks, so that more Russian people will go out and protest and say Putin that he needs to withdraw troops from the Ukrainian territory.
Maria, thank you so much for giving us that one example. I mean, I haven't seen that, and I think you would agree that sort of the image and transferring and promoting that type of image of Ukrainian soldiers being, demonstrating humane efforts, compassion, against people who are sent there to kill them is just the most dangerous sort of message that, Putin obviously doesn't want his people to see. For everybody watching, we were just talking about some of the losses, and I just want to read out now. This is from Radio Free Europe, according to figures of February 26th by the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense. Over the 3-day period where Ukraine is doing this all on its own, everybody, please, they do have, defensive weapons from the West, but in the 3 days, they've destroyed 14 aircraft, 8 helicopter, 102 tanks, 536 armored vehicles, as well as killing potentially around 3,000 military personnel. So as you said, Maria, I mean, like with limited resources and, this term of bootstrapping, they're doing an unbelievable job in terms of effectiveness based on the limited resources they have. Let's keep on the theme of resources, Maria. Yesterday, there was a rumor going around, or it's been reported that the United States wanted to evacuate President Zelensky, and in an unbelievable movement of defiance said, I'm going to stay, and he wants supplies. What is your reaction to the 27 nations giving more weapons and military aid to the country?
Well, of course, we wait for that, and we need any support that could be given, and Ukrainians appreciate that. And I want to give this message to all who listen to us. Thank you so much for everyone and every country and government who supports now Ukraine in these conditions. And we have been following, before the aggression started, all the aircrafts bringing defensive weapons now to Ukraine. And now Ukrainian soldiers report that they use their defensive weapons to fight, and that it is really what they need now. So of course Ukraine will need more of that, more supplies, more medical supplies, because I think that and also the defensive supplies for civilians that could be so if Russia starts moving further, there will be more losses among the civilians. So we need for them also to have supplies to fight and to protect themselves. So that's what Ukraine is really looking for. And also I would like to say here that the efforts of the Ukrainian citizens are striking, because actually all my colleagues with whom I speak, they say that that is the moment when they see Ukraine is so united. So that is something that we would not expect this to happen, because now every single person gives any possible support to this fighting. And we see just ordinary people on the street, they approach Russian soldiers when they are already on the occupied territories and tell them, just facing the men with military with guns in the helmets, to go back to Russia. So that's something that it is really striking.
Yeah, Maria, we're approaching sort of the last 5-6 minutes of the interview right now with you. Obviously, a lot of the intense fighting now is circled around Kyiv. A lot of the Russian assets have not been totally moved in, and they've had problems holding airports and taking it. As the conflict moves into more of a guerrilla warfare style tactic, on Twitter, we've seen all types of reports about how sort of the entry of personnel carriers and tanks, these are not the ideal vehicles to be in a city center. It's been very interesting to see sort of this open source intelligence of people saying tanks are very slow, they move, direct them to roads that can't handle, change bridge signs. So there's a lot of, guerrilla style fighting. I mean, what should we all be looking out for, Marie, in the next 48 hours, sort of with President Zelensky and his administration hunkered down in sort of the administration building? And, as we follow it, how do you think the next 48 hours will look?
Well, eventually what Putin plan is now is to get control over the governmental center in Kyiv, so where the governmental buildings are situated, and apparently president and his team. And for now, the battle for Kyiv continues. We have reports that our military blows up some of the bridges to make it harder for the military to get into the city center. And all the people now in Kyiv need to be inside or in the shelters, because there are actual battles inside the city already. And Russia uses saboteur groups, which is also, I think, it is so it goes not in line with the law of wars, because they are using Ukrainian uniform, and we have videos how the Russian soldiers put on Ukrainian uniform and use Ukrainian military vehicles and try to enter the city using that, so that they will not be recognized. But for now, all kinds of these groups are eliminated, and they are being found. And so what we will see in the next hours and the next couple of days is probably Russia putting much effort to get control over Kyiv, but they apparently cannot do that without the mass strikes, and that will mean that huge losses could happen among the civilians. So probably that if Kyiv stands up, and if Kyiv still fights and Russia is not able to get control over the Ukrainian capital, then probably it will lead Putin to think that they will better go to the negotiation process, and that Ukraine will not surrender. He will understand that, and he will proceed with some kind of further diplomatic, or it's not diplomatic, just talks. And probably it will lead to him thinking that the only way out of this conflict is to withdraw troops.
Thank you, Maria, for that sort of last statement. I mean, for everybody there, we should all be prepared and already just accept this Maskarova type of tactic of deception where, even when they entered in from Donetsk and Luhansk, they were using OSCE vans as coverage. So, I mean, everything is on the table. And Maria, even before the 3 days, it's proven that Russia does not respect international law. They don't respect the laws of war at all. And that for them, sort of with the Gerasimov document, everything is fair game. As we sum up here with Maria coming to us from Kharkiv, the three main messages for everybody watching on Twitter and on Facebook Live is the Ukrainian people are united more than ever, as we saw with President Poroshenko with an AK-47 yesterday. Ukraine is fighting, and most importantly, the message that the Kremlin is trying to put that Ukraine is a failed state is completely wrong. I was reading this morning the quotes from the mayor of Kharkiv saying, while there is martial law, the public transport is running, shops are still open, and that Ukraine is still working. We're going to be coming back for our next episode of Global Tremors at 1:30, speaking about Belarus. But Maria, from everybody here at GlobeSec in Slovakia and beyond, thank you so much for your efforts. Please stay safe, and we look forward to talking to you again, and hopefully under better circumstances. But, Slava Ukraina, and we'll talk soon.
Героям слава. Thank you very much for having me.